Still need help with the Science ACT, I would recommend checking out our ACT YouTube channel. And I would also say you can always stop by my room, and I have a whole bunch of old Science ACT passages. My classroom's room 2303. All right, this is the passage that we're going to be working with today. You can see it's fairly recent. It's from June 2023. And I picked this passage for a couple of reasons. First, it talks about acid mine drainage, which is a topic I talk about in one of my classes, AP Environmental Science. So I thought, hey, that'll be interesting for those kids that I teach. Hope everybody else likes it too. The second reason I picked it was because I thought it was a fairly tough passage. It's a little bit harder to find the information. It's not like see figure 1, see figure 2 over and over. It kind of jumps around a little bit. Okay. A couple tips I would give you for a passage like this. First of all, I would say do not be reading all of the passage for word understanding. I wouldn't read that. I wouldn't read that. I wouldn't read that. Really, it's just going to take too much time. If you're a super fast reader, maybe read the intro, but otherwise just get started. The other thing I would say before you go to the questions, maybe to annotate important titles that will help you find information faster. So you can see I did that for you. I circled, okay, here's the study. I circled, here's the title on the Y and on the X for this first figure one. And here's the title on this Y for the second figure. So you can see the first graph is talking about SO4, sulfate, and the second graph is talking about pH, okay? Once you get to the questions, that will help you find info faster. So like number 34 is asking about SO4 sulfate. I know it's gonna be looking at this first graph. Number 39 is asking about pH. I know it's gonna be looking at this second graph, okay? These guys here, 36, 40, 37 are asking about description, intended role. So those tell me we're probably gonna have to skim these written sections. Those are not gonna be graph questions. I wouldn't be reading it again word for word. I would just be looking for keywords, okay? And then lastly, this one here is asking about dependent variable. We know dependent variable means our data. So I would be looking on the y-axis. I can write data really slowly on my computer. I'd be looking at the y-axis of here and of here on the graphs to find some data for dependent variable. All right, that's kind of an overview of the passage you're going to be working with today. Since you are about to take it for real, we want you to try this passage on your own before I go over the answers. You should be spending 5 minutes per passage on the Science ACT. So I would pause your videos right now, have your teacher start a 5-minute timer, open up this link and try to do the questions on your own, and then we'll check them. All right, question 34. Question 34 is talking about SO4 content. So we knew that we're going to be looking at figure 1 because this one also talks about SO4 sulfate. Okay, and they say, according to the results of the study, did the injection of the grout, here's the injection of the grout, okay, reduce the SO4 flowing out? So basically, did SO4 go down when we added the grout? Yes, it did. You can see it did go down. Here's where the grout was injected right here, and from there on, it went down. Okay, so we know it's either going to be F or G. The correct answer for 34 is G, because you can see it was much lower in January of 97, which is the next time they tested it. Here's January of 97. Than it was on July 1st, which is the time they tested it right before they injected the grout. All right, question 35. Question 35, it just asks, for how many months after the injection of the grout was the next set of samples collected? So basically, they injected the grout here. How long was it until they took their next measurement? You can see they injected the grout right after July, and they tell you in the passage they injected it in August of 96, okay? And then the next time they took a water sample is right here in January of 97. From August to January, that's September, October, November, December, January, 5 months. So our answer for 35 should be 5. All right, question 36. Question 36 says based on the description. So I know I'm going to be looking at the description, not at one of the graphs. Okay, and they ask us which of these guys here would be a reactant and which of these would be a product. Okay, now if you've taken chemistry, most of you have, reactants are on the left, they're what we start with, and products are on the right, they are what we make. Okay, so let's read this description here. You can see that we are starting with FeS2 and water. Those two are going to dissolve together, so those would be our reactants. Okay, so FeS2 and water are our reactants. And then it says that it makes sulfate ions. That's our product. Okay, so the answer for 36 should be G, what we start with and what is made. And again, you don't need to be reading the whole passage. I would just be skimming for these keywords and then see if you can put them into one of the answer choices. All right, question 37. Question 37 says, which of the following best summarizes the intended role of the CCP grout? Okay, intended role, that doesn't sound like something that would be in a graph. I'm guessing it's going to be in description. So I just skimmed until I found CCP grout. And I read this little section about the CCP grout, okay? It says, after a coal mine is abandoned, the CCP grout can be injected into the mine where it hardens and it coats all the exposed surfaces and prevents the groundwater from coming into contact with the rocks. So basically they're shooting this grout all over the mine to cover up all the rocks in the mine. Which one sounds like that? The correct answer here should be A. The grout decreases interactions between water and rock. Basically, they're covering up the mine, all the rocks in the mine, so that if any water goes through the mine, the water does not get exposed to the rocks in the mine. All right, question 38. Which of the following was a dependent variable in the study? Dependent variable always means data. Data. I'm very slow at writing on my computer. Sorry, guys. Data. Okay, and so we're going to be looking at our y-axis. Y-axis is always the dependent variable, what you measure, your data. Okay, and so we did measure the average SO4 or sulfate content, so 38 should be H. Okay. Number 39 asks, if the CPP grout injection had occurred on August 1st of 97, so if it had been a little bit later, if it had been here instead, if we'd moved that CPP grout over here instead, okay, the pH of the water flowing out of the mine on July 1st, so before we injected it right here, would have been closest to which of the following? So they're asking you to predict if we moved the grout about a year later, okay, where would the pH of the water be? It looks like the pH of the water is sitting right around here. It looks pretty flat, around 4-ish pH, okay? So if they'd moved it back and they'd measured it right before they'd added the grout, the pH should have been around 4. Your answer 39 should have been A. All right, number 40, our last question. Yeah, you did it. According to the description, the results of the study, before August 1st of 96, how many samples were collected? Okay, let's find August 1st, 96. Here is July. So August 1st, 96 must have been when they added the grout. How many samples were collected before? Okay, so you've got this time, this time, this time, and this time. 4 dates that they collected it at. Okay, and they tell us they take 3 samples at each date. How did I know to look at the graph and the description? They tell us look at the description and the results. So I'm not just going to find my answer here. It's not 4, even though that's a tempting answer choice. I'm going to have to look at the description as well. Description tells me they took 3 samples at each time. So 3 times 4, your answer for 40 should have been J, 12 total samples. All right, thanks for watching, guys.